My billionaire father bought me a $30 million mansion, but I abandoned it. 1 month later, a broke college girl claimed she owned it, and that my father was her dad. I spent 3 years hiding my true identity as Vivian Vance, the sole heiress to the Vance tech empire. At Harrison University, I chose to be a low-key, brilliant art club president. I didn't want my wealth to ruin my humble goddess image, nor did I want it to affect my relationship with Ethan, the student council president whom I had financially supported from a starving student into a polished gentleman. I even brought him a $100,000 vintage watch, custom-made by my father. But today, the peace was shattered. A girl named Chloe walked into my art studio, dripping in cheap fake designer clothes, caked in thick foundation. She raised her chin like a proud peacock and announced to the crowd, "My dad is Arthur Vance. Just call me Chloe Vance." The tape dispenser in my hand crashed to the floor. "Arthur Vance? That's my father's name." I panicked, thinking my dad had a secret love child. I secretly called him under the desk. My dad slammed his desk on the line. "Vivian, you are my only biological child. I'll dig up her family roots. She is a fraud." Relieved, I looked up, only to hear Chloe smugly announce, "My dad just gave me the keys to the Cliffside Mansion in Rhode Island. BBQ at my place this weekend." My blood turned to ice. That was my locked mansion. The fake billionaire's daughter threatened to buy out my boyfriend with a 7-figure salary, unaware that I practically owned the clothes on her back. That evening, Ethan left the cafeteria early to handle student council business. Before I could clean my tray, Chloe slid into the seat opposite me. She crossed her legs, tapping her gaudy neon nails against the table. Her eyes scanned my cheap canvas bag with pure condescension. "Vivian, right?" she sneered, leaning closer. "I want Ethan. Drop him. Name your price." I almost choked on my laughter. A fraud trying to buy out the real heiress? "Oh, what can a billionaire's daughter offer me?" I asked, playing along. Chloe raised her chin, flashing a fake Chanel ring. "My dad's company, Vance Enterprises. I can get you an executive internship after graduation. A $700,000 annual salary. Deal?" I leaned forward, gently grabbing a lock of her hair. "Nice hair dye, Chloe, but the tips are split like dry hay. Since when does the Vance heiress use $10 box dye?" She flinched, but I grabbed her wrist. Her knuckles were thick, her skin calloused, cheap foundation settling deep into her rough wrinkles. "And these hands? Does the richest girl in the city do heavy house cleaning?" I flipped her jacket collar, exposing a crooked, poorly stitched logo with the inner tag crudely hacked off. "Did you steal this, Chloe?" Her face turned purple. She screamed and bolted, leaving the whole cafeteria staring. My confrontation with the fake heiress went viral on the university intranet, but the internet chose the wealthy lie over the beautiful truth. By midnight, a video of our cafeteria clash was pinned to the top of the school forum. "Campus goddess versus billionaire heiress, vote for who wins Ethan's heart." Within hours, the votes for Chloe skyrocketed. The comments were brutally realistic. One wrote, "Between a beautiful artist and a ticket to 30 years of luxury, I choose the luxury." Another said, "In front of Capitol, beauty is useless." Everyone was so blind. Chloe's fraud was screamingly obvious, yet they chose to worship her money. I kept scrolling until I saw one rational comment from a user named Aiden_MD. He logically analyzed Mrs. Vance's public medical records and pregnancy timeline, proving Chloe's age didn't match at all. The next day, I walked into the student council office to find Ethan, my boyfriend of 2 years, being pinned against the wall by Chloe, who was giggling and stroking his chest. Rage boiled in my veins. Stealing my identity wasn't enough. Now she was taking my man? "Are you done playing the fake heiress, Chloe?" I barked. "Now you're playing the cheap homewrecker?" Chloe trembled with rage, but before she could speak, Ethan suddenly stepped in front of her, shielding her from me. He looked at me coldly and said, "Vivian, shut up. Chloe is not what you think." My boyfriend traded a 2-year relationship for a fake billionaire's promise, wearing the $100,000 watch I bought him while holding her hand. I looked into Ethan's eyes, heartbroken but completely cold. In a relationship, I demand absolute loyalty. If my man cannot stand by me, I discard him like trash. "Let's talk right here, Ethan," I said, brushing away his hand as he tried to drag me outside. "Explain it in front of her." Ethan stammered, unable to find words. Sensing his hesitation, Chloe smiled triumphantly, locking her arm tightly through his. "The truth is, Vivian," Chloe bragged, "I confessed to Ethan, and he agreed to give me a chance to pursue him." Ethan's face looked uneasy, but he didn't pull away from her. My gaze fell upon his wrist. He was still wearing the custom 18K gold watch I had imported for his birthday. It felt like lightning striking my soul. Not because I loved him too deeply, but because I realized I had raised a gold-digging rat. He didn't even bother to verify Chloe's cheap lies before throwing me away. If he had only researched the true value of the gifts I gave him over the past 2 years, he wouldn't be standing there so comfortably. I turned to walk away, knowing we were done. But Ethan suddenly chased after me, grabbing my wrist so hard it bruised. "Vivian, listen to me, it's not what you think," he yelled. A handsome stranger in a white lab coat shattered my ex-boyfriend's wrist with a single, brutal twist when he refused to let me go. Ethan was desperately dragging me backwards, lying through his teeth. "Vivian, I just told Chloe she has the freedom to pursue me. I didn't accept her." I twisted violently, trying to break free from his agonizing grip, but he was too strong. Suddenly, a tall figure stepped out from the medical building. Without a single word, he slammed his hand onto Ethan's wrist. With a sickening, elegant twist of his forearm, he forced Ethan to his knees in pure agony. "Who the hell are you?" Ethan screamed, clutching his sprained wrist. The stranger didn't look at him. He turned his sharp, chiseled face toward me, his neat short hair catching the wind. Underneath his black hoodie, he wore a white medical coat. "Are you okay, Vivian?" he asked. His voice was deep, strangely soothing. I recognized him instantly from his profile picture. "Aiden?" I gasped. He blinked, surprised I knew his name, then nodded. He glanced down at the pathetic Ethan groveling on the floor. "What do you want me to do with this trash?" I looked at Ethan's desperate face, then pulled out my phone, pressing record. "Ethan, say into the camera that Chloe is a parasite and you despise her, and I'll forgive you." Ethan's face turned green. He couldn't risk offending the billionaire's daughter. He looked away and muttered, "Vivian, let's break up." The fake heiress tried to hijack my family's multi-million-dollar art district internship, completely unaware that the CEO answers to me. The next day, Ethan and Chloe made their relationship public, walking hand in hand past the art building. Chloe gave me a smug, victorious smile. "Vivian Sr., met again." I sneered back. "A fake heiress and a traitorous dog, a match made in heaven." Her face turned pale at the word fake. Later that afternoon, I called an urgent art club meeting in the main amphitheater. As president, I had a massive announcement. Vance Enterprises had invited 50 club members for an exclusive, all-expenses-paid 1-month internship at the prestigious Vance Art District. 2 years ago, when I was elected president, my dad invested a massive fortune into our school, creating this district just to secure my position. I chose 50 elite seniors based strictly on talent. But as I finished roll call, Mia, Chloe's loyal lackey, stood up and shouted, "This is unfair, Vivian! You only chose your friends! Chloe, the real Vance heiress demands we revote the list!" the crowd muttered. Chloe stood up, crossing her arms arrogantly. "The art district belongs to my father. Vivian shouldn't run this club like a one-woman show." I leaned against the podium, a cold smile touching my lips. "Oh, since the district belongs to your dad, why don't you just ask him to add your name, Chloe?" Chloe's face froze in sheer panic. The cold, arrogant medical genius turned into a blushing puppy when I bluntly asked him if he had been in love with me for 2 years. After the chaotic meeting, Aiden invited me out for sushi near the campus gates. My female intuition told me he had feelings for me, and after our 2 intense encounters, I found myself quite fond of his silent, protective nature. As we ate, I waited for him to make a move, but he kept rambling about everything from medical anatomy to the weather, completely avoiding the topic. Finally, I set my chopsticks down and looked him dead in the eye. "Aiden, do you like me?" The brilliant medical student choked on his water, his pale cheeks instantly turning bright crimson. He looked down, looking less like a cold doctor and more like a guilty husky. "I've liked you for 2 years," he muttered softly. I was stunned. "Then why didn't you ever tell me?" He sighed, his eyes full of gentle sorrow. "Every time I gathered the courage to confess, I saw you with Ethan. I didn't want to ruin your happiness." My heart melted a little. Before I could speak, he looked up, gripping his glass. "Don't reject me yet. I'm a senior, my family is stable, and my feelings are permanent. Just give me a chance to prove it." I smiled. "All right, doctor. You have a chance." The fake heiress illegally altered the university internship roster, thinking her fake identity would shield her from a federal fraud charge. Back in my dorm, while I was still blushing over Aiden's cute confession, my phone rang. It was Leo, one of the elite art club members I selected. His voice was frantic. "Vivian, we just arrived at the Vance Art District. The security team checked the official roster sent by the school, and half of our top seniors' names are gone. They've been replaced by Chloe, Mia, and all their freshman friends." Flux of rage flared in my chest. I instantly remembered seeing Ethan and Chloe lurking around Professor Smith's office yesterday when I submitted the physical list. They had used Ethan's student council keys to break in and forge the documents. Chloe was betting that the victims would assume the changes came directly from the billionaire's daughter and stay silent out of fear. She truly underestimated how a real corporation operates. I didn't even waste time getting angry. I picked up my phone and dialed the chief of security at the Vance Art District, a man who answers directly to my father. "Fire the university liaison involved and throw the trespassers out immediately," I commanded coldly. 2 hours later, Chloe and her friends were dragged out of the luxury district by armed guards, sobbing in humiliation. But Chloe screamed, "My dad will ruin you all! I'm going to my Rhode Island mansion!" The fake heiress brought 30 students to my private mansion for a luxury party, confident she could bypass the military-grade facial recognition lock. The weekend arrived. Chloe, desperate to salvage her ruined reputation after the internship scandal, invited dozens of classmates to the Rhode Island mansion. She claimed it was her private playground. Ethan accompanied her, his face radiant with pride as if he already owned the estate. Aiden and I arrived in his car, parking across the street to watch the circus unfold. I knew for a fact that the mansion's biometric security gates only recognized one face and one set of fingerprints in the entire world, mine. I took a sip of the warm tea Aiden handed me, waiting for Chloe to fail miserably at the gate. I expected her to claim she forgot the keys or that the system was broken, but to my absolute horror, Chloe walked up and pressed the intercom button. Within seconds, the massive iron gates clicked and swung open. A middle-aged woman dressed in a housekeeper's uniform stepped out, bowing deeply and welcoming Chloe's crowd inside. My heart skipped a beat. How? Who was that woman inside my locked house? I immediately called my father on speakerphone. "Dad, did you put a maid in my Rhode Island house?" My dad replied, "Oh yes, my secretary hired a local woman. Her daughter goes to your college, thought it was a nice coincidence." Why? 5 police cruisers and 10 armed security guards raided the mansion BBQ, throwing the fake heiress to the ground for felony trespassing. "Dad, fire that maid immediately, and I want her daughter prosecuted for grand trespass," I said into the phone before hanging up. Inside the mansion gardens, Chloe's barbecue party had just begun. Students were cheering, drinking expensive wine stolen from my father's cellar, while Ethan looked around like the king of the castle. Suddenly, the roar of sirens shattered the music. 5 police cars and 3 black security vans breached the gates. "Freeze! Nobody move!" a stern officer shouted, drawing his taser. The students panicked, dropping their cups. The lead detective marched straight up to Chloe, who was shaking like a leaf. "We received a report of an active burglary and unauthorized occupation of this estate. Who claims to be the owner?" Chloe's face was as white as paper. She looked at her mother, the maid, who rushed forward, sobbing and kneeling before the cops. "It's my fault. I am the housekeeper here. My daughter Chloe just wanted to show off to her friends." "Please don't arrest her." The crowd erupted in shock. "Chloe is the maid's daughter?" Ethan stood frozen, looking like he had just swallowed glass. The detective pushed the mother aside and cuffed Chloe. The actual owner, Vivian Vance, is pressing full charges. The fake heiress didn't just steal my identity, she stole $500,000 worth of designer clothes and jewels from my mansion wardrobes. The exposure of Chloe's true identity rocked Harrison University. The school administration immediately slapped her with a severe disciplinary black mark. But I wasn't done. When my father bought that mansion, his secretary had fully stocked the walk-in closets with high-end designer pieces, custom jewelry, and luxury bags meant for me. Chloe had been systematically stealing and selling those items to fund her fake billionaire lifestyle. I had our corporate legal team calculate the total damage. It exceeded $400,000, a grand larceny felony. Chloe was facing up to 10 years in federal prison. Meanwhile, Ethan's gold-digging dream turned into a public execution. The entire campus mocked him for leaving a beautiful artist to become a maid's daughter's lapdog. He was stripped of his student council presidency and ostracized by everyone. He locked himself in his room, desperate and ruined. But instead of repenting, his rotten mind turned to a dark, dangerous alternative to save himself. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed. It was a video message from Ethan. He was holding a jagged kitchen knife against his bleeding wrist, crying, "Vivian, if you don't meet me at the Grand Plaza Hotel tonight, I'll end my life right now." My suicidal ex-boyfriend tried to lure me to a hotel room to film an explicit blackmail video, but I forwarded the room number to the desperate fraud instead. I stared at Ethan's pathetic video with total disgust. He thought he could insult my intelligence by using a fake suicide threat to trap me. If I went to that hotel room, he would likely drug me, film something compromising, and force me to stay with him to access my family's wealth. He wanted to play dirty? Fine. I forwarded the hotel name and his exact room number directly to Chloe. Chloe was drowning in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt from my lawsuit, and her mother had been fired and evicted. She was desperate for a miracle, and she still believed Ethan possessed secret family wealth. I knew exactly what her desperate mind would do when she found out Ethan was alone in a luxury hotel room. For the next 2 weeks, silence fell over the campus. Our legal team informed me that Chloe had suddenly managed to pay off a massive chunk of her restitution fee. I chuckled to myself. She had clearly extracted that money from Ethan. I thought the drama was over, and I focused on my beautiful, thriving relationship with Aiden. But one rainy evening, the silence was broken by the horrific screams of ambulances rushing toward the campus lake. My ex-boyfriend tried to drown the fake heiress in the campus lake after discovering she drugged him and stole his $100,000 watch. Aiden and I rushed to the campus lake along with a crowd of horrified students. The police had already cordoned off the area. Ethan was being pinned to the hood of a squad car, covered in mud and screaming like a lunatic, while EMTs worked frantically on a blue, lifeless Chloe on the grass. A passing student had witnessed Ethan holding Chloe's head underwater for several brutal minutes until she stopped moving. A few days later, the full police report revealed the horrifying truth. That night at the hotel, Chloe had slipped heavy sedatives into Ethan's drink. While he was unconscious, she stripped him naked, took explicit, humiliating photos, and stole the $100,000 custom watch I gave him. She sold the watch to pay her debts, but soon ran out of money. She began using the explicit photos to blackmail Ethan for more cash, unaware that Ethan was actually dirt poor. When Ethan found out the watch she stole was worth a fortune, he lost his mind. He tracked her down at the lake, demanding the watch back, only for her to mock him. In a fit of psychotic rage, he dragged her into the water to kill her. He was now facing an attempted first-degree murder charge. I visited my ex-boyfriend in his maximum security prison cell just to watch his soul shatter when I finally revealed the truth about the watch. Ethan sat behind the thick glass partition wearing an orange jumpsuit. He looked 10 years older, his hollow eyes red from crying. When he saw me, he slammed his hands against the glass, weeping bitterly. "Vivian, I am so sorry. I loved you from the start. I only wanted to trap you at the hotel because I was desperate to get you back. God punished me by letting that witch Chloe drug me." I sat there utterly emotionless, watching him hit his own face in regret. Then he looked up, his voice trembling. Vivian, Chloe said the watch you gave me for my birthday was worth $100,000. Is that true? I slowly leaned toward the microphone and smiled coldly. Yes, Ethan, it's true. And the designer belts, the gold cufflinks I bought you, all worth tens of thousands. If you hadn't sold your soul to a fraud, you would have inherited a multi-billion-dollar empire. Ethan's eyes widened to the size of saucers. His jaw dropped as the realization crushed his sanity. He began to scream and curse Chloe, violently banging his head against the steel table until guards dragged him away, howling like an animal. I walked out of the prison gates, leaving the ghosts of my past behind, completely embraced by the true love I deserved. I never told Ethan the ultimate truth, that I am the actual daughter of Arthur Vance, the very billionaire he tried so desperately to climb toward. He was one step away from everything he ever dreamed of, but his greed blinded him, and now he will spend the rest of his youth behind cold iron bars. As I walked out of the prison facility, a gentle summer breeze blew across my face. Aiden was waiting for me by his car, a warm, protective smile on his face. He held out a cup of coffee, exactly the way I like it. Over the past few months, our relationship had grown incredibly deep, fully supported by both of our wealthy families. Being with Aiden was effortless. We shared the same values, the same status, and the same intellectual passions. I didn't have to walk on eggshells or hide my wealth like I did with Ethan, constantly worrying about bruising a fragile, toxic ego. In a strange way, Chloe was my savior. Her cheap fraud acted as a mirror, exposing the monster inside Ethan before I got hurt, and paving the way for me to find a true masterpiece, Aiden. Standing on the private beach of my $30 million estate, the cold medical genius made a vow that sealed our destiny forever. The sun was setting over the Atlantic Ocean, painting the sky in deep shades of gold and amber. Aiden and I walked barefoot along the private beach of my Rhode Island mansion, the very place where Chloe's lies had come to a violent end. The house was clean, the fraud was gone, and the future was ours. Aiden stopped walking, turning to face me. The usual cold, unbothered expression of a brilliant surgeon completely vanished from his eyes, replaced by a devotion so deep it took my breath away. He took my hand, lifting it gently to his lips, kissing the center of my palm. "Vivian," he whispered, his voice vibrating in the ocean breeze. "People can be ambitious, but they shouldn't be consumed by monstrous greed. If you can't control your desires, you will be destroyed by them. But I have a confession to make." I smiled, leaning against his chest. "What is it, doctor?" He looked into my eyes and murmured, "In this lifetime, my only greed is you." I wrapped my arms around his neck, sealing our eternity with a kiss.